So, tomorrow I'm going to see the Backrooms movie. Today is Wednesday, May 27th, 2026. The movie comes out on the 29th, but I was a noob and bought my tickets early. The place I'm seeing it at has an early showing. I thought it'd be fun to share my thoughts about the movie before I see it and then come back tomorrow and share my opinion on it after seeing it. I figured I would record separately from my gameplay here, because if I try to talk about this while I'm actually playing, I'll be scatterbrains. My expectations are super low. It's an A24 movie, and I thought I knew more A24 movies than I did, but I guess I don't. The most memorable one for me was Midsommar. I absolutely loved that movie. I saw that movie in the theater 4 times. Hereditary was shit. Oh, they did bring her back, too. That movie I did not like. I didn't know they did Tusk. Is it great? Not necessarily, but it's Tusk. For this particular movie, The Backrooms, really what I am seeing this movie for personally is just aesthetics. Storyline, I know it's going to be garbage. Whatever. Character development, sure. If it happens and it's great, cool. That's a bonus. I did watch the Backrooms series on YouTube just to kind of pregame myself for what's to come of this movie. Do I think they're going to be related? No, I don't. I don't know what it's going to be when it comes to how they're going to portray it. I don't watch trailers. I don't like to read about movies before they come out. I like to go in completely blind. The way I viewed the Backrooms after playing the Backrooms 1998 game, it really made me feel like the Backrooms really is just hell. And whoever is in the Backrooms, it shows them and makes them relive guilt that they had for whatever they have done, and puts them in that endless cycle of their own guilt and shame and images that the Backrooms can portray. But then after watching the Backroom series, it turned more into this was made by the government thing, that the purpose of it was supposed to be extra storage and extra living area. And then, of course, the virus thing happening, there was troubles with making it. This fungus started happening within inside of it, which created all these monsters, started killing people, and then the whole project was just abandoned and left. And then now people are discovering it and just getting lost in it, and it becomes a supernatural thing. Because for me, I love exploring abandoned buildings. I used to do that a lot, not so much anymore. I wish I did, but I know better now, I guess. Also, I love being in ominous places where, you're not supposed to be. I've always had this, fascination of freezing the whole world and just walking around everywhere, exploring areas and being by myself while doing it. I've always had that. And the Backrooms really emulate that. My favorite videos within the Backrooms series was the ones where it would just be a guy with a camera walking around, not saying anything, and just showing the progression of what the Backrooms turns into. Anything can happen here. It's not about jump scares. It's kind of about monsters. It's just the element of unknown fear that can simulate what's going on in your mind and kind of scare you in that way, especially with the video game. He killed this boy. The Backrooms is emulating his guilt and shame and torturing him forever, for eternity. It's hell. With the movie, again, if it would to be portrayed that way, if it were to splice in some of the government conspiracy thing within that Backrooms universe, that would be interesting. Are they going to? I don't know. Again, I'm not having expectation. I'm not thinking this is going to be the perfect representation of the Backrooms. I want to see cool aesthetics. I want to see cool effects. And if it doesn't have that, even, I mean, geez. Because people, on the outside, the Backrooms is just all these yellow walls. And so what can you really do with that? But really, it shifts. And that's shown in the Backrooms series. It shifts into different Dreamcore-esque landscapes that they don't make sense. And that's what I love. Again, what I was getting at too is the element of fear without it being jump scares or a single monster. It's just the element of the unknown. The Blair Witch Project. That was one of the perfect horror movies, and a lot of people don't like the Blair Witch Project because of that. The general public is so I want a monster, I want a jump scare, I want a ghost. But with the Blair Witch Project, a lot of people get lost and they get bored because what's going on? We don't know what's going on. They're just walking through the woods and they're hearing weird noises. There's no climax. But for me, and a lot of others who are cool, whoever you may be, if you like the Blair Witch Project, it's more than just that. It's like the element of mystery. The unknown is more fascinating than any monster because it's a psychological thing. You're left to believe what is following them. And not knowing, you can kind of create your own story with that, and then it becomes personal. Is that going to be portrayed in this movie? It's a modern movie. I feel like most modern movies lost their touch of personality. They kind of just throw shit at the wall to see what sticks. Before, movies were art pieces, they were emotional pieces, they were family gathering pieces. Now, everything is just a cash grab. Or a reboot of an older movie for nostalgic pleasure, which doesn't really create nostalgia, it creates disappointment. But being that this movie is about a creepypasta, I'm a little hopeful that they can represent it in a way that can evolve the story rather than completely butcher it. But we shall see, and I will be back with my updated opinion tomorrow. Figured I'd take you through my own personal back rooms. This is the mall that I'm gonna go see the movie at. And through here, we have our own little back rooms. So I've taken this elevator before. Not gonna do it now, but I just wanted to show it to you really fast. Oh, there it goes. It's Backrooms elevator. I'm not getting any chances of getting stuck in it today. Around the corner here, we got some steps. I'll take that instead. Some more steps over there. Could go that way to get out of here, but we'll take the long way. Ta-da! Okay, so it is May 28th, 2026, and I just saw the Backrooms movie. I had no idea that the guy who made the Backrooms series actually wrote this movie. This was his movie. And it showed. I was thinking that Hollywood would take the Backrooms and just completely make it their own. I was wrong. This was his movie. I'm gonna try to not, spoil anything. Visually, it was very great with the found footage imagery. The story was good, too. It was about a man who had recently got kicked out of his own house, owns this furniture store, and kinda lost his glory and his dream in life. As far as characters, the two main characters that we're focused here on is Clark and Mary. To me, they represented their emotions more than having a personality. I think that's a very good element to add in this particular movie because the Backroom represents a space in which these things live. I was under the impression it was like representing hell, whereas in the movie, I feel like it's more of a purgatory. Another representation of the Backrooms in this movie was your subconscious mind. The things that are going on in your life that are holding you back from being your greatest self live in this space. Whoever is in there, it consumes that person and it morphs itself into just that. I definitely recommend. Again, I went in with no expectations, and it met all of them, really. And the music was great. They had Caretaker in there. Caretaker is one of my newly favorite artists. There is one thing that I do want to talk about that is a spoiler here. As I was saying, how the representation of this Backrooms in this movie is a purgatory almost, a limbo state. Whoever the Backrooms is consuming, it reflects their subconscious mind. When Clark discovers the Backrooms through his furniture store, it shows itself as just another section of the store where there's extra furniture, but everything is kind of put together strange. As we go through the movie and we find out that Clark has actually been living in the Backrooms for quite some time, it's a little bit more organized for him. He finds Mary, he strangles her, she wakes up in a kitchen, dining room setting with the woman with the red hair, the other guy, and then the dude in the chair with the lamp. This area represents, his house. Who is the man in the chair? I'm not too sure, but he really reminded me of the arm from Twin Peaks. And the woman with the red hair represented his wife. When he tries to reenact the night that he got kicked out, he puts the wig on Mary and they do the reenactment thing. Finally, Mary snaps and says, your wife didn't leave you because of the drinking. She left you because of the bitching. And he expresses that I finally feel like I belong somewhere. I belong in these back rooms. He said, I don't want to change. And she said, you don't have to. And then on is when finally he decides to take ownership for himself. He decides to take accountability for himself. And he lets her go and says, I'm sorry. And that's when Captain Clark comes out, this monster, this representation of his inner demons and ego, persona too. It comes out, and before he even came out, the woman who represented his ex-wife runs. She screams and runs because she has already been exposed to his worst side. And he comes in, the big old scary, version of himself, Captain Clark. Clark says, it's okay. She said, we don't have to change. The monster then picks him up and we think that he's gonna hug him, but then he ends up biting him. His ego destroyed whatever humility that he could express. The expression on Captain Clark's face is one of terror. It's not angry. It's not out for vengeance even. It's terrified. The part where they're sitting in the therapist office at the beginning and they're reenacting the night again, he expresses anger and he's yelling and he's shouting, but then right after, when she asks, how are you feeling, he draws in and he says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yell, I didn't mean to get all hyped up like that. And I think the expression on Captain Clark's face is supposed to represent just that. When Mary, she's in the office being interrogated by she's being questioned by the guy who works for Async. Afterwards, we see the version of the Backrooms that is her mind, because then it shifts into her office, her bedroom, her area where she was signing books and things. And then we see her, sitting there all morphed out, catatonic, basically. I just want to say on a personal note, too, the thing with the wind chimes, I don't know why, I don't know what it is, but there's something about wind chimes that gives me an eerie feeling, yet it's such a calming sound. It's such a calming, relaxing, almost like, something you could meditate to. But for me, personally, I don't know why, it makes me feel uneasy. And I guess I'm not the only one, because the fact that they would even use that in this movie. So that was like, when I heard that and the Caretaker music was like, oh my god, this movie's speaking to me. It was great. I loved that. Also in the movie, she kept reciting these things about the subconscious mind and how people build walls to protect themselves because they're so used to getting hurt so that they can prevent themselves from getting hurt. And that, again, is, represented by the Backrooms. What is the Backrooms? A bunch of walls. So you are in this place that is calming. It seems calming, but yet eerie. You retreat inside. When you self-isolate, it becomes corrupted, and you get consumed even more so than if you were to just live life, take risks, do things to where, I could get hurt. But if somebody has gone through something like that their whole lives they've been hurt by family, by friends, by themselves even. They build these walls, they retreat, and then they end up getting consumed even more so by their own inner demons. It's a cool thing to watch and to try to sit and think about it. So yes, it wasn't a piece of shit, basically, is the is the grand finale. It was not a piece of shit. It was great. Go see it.